Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm April and I'm here with Scott Winnell. We are two board members, Michigan Jazz Festival, and our glorious clinician, Sunny Wilkinson. You're going to be hearing from her shortly. It's going to be a great day. Hi, Olivia. Welcome. Welcome to everyone. You're in for a real treat, folks. Sunny is a brilliant vocal artist. She is so skilled and so soulful in everything that she does that I know that we're just going to all be thoroughly um, enriched by everything that she has to offer us. So we're very happy to have everyone with us, and we're just going to wait a few more minutes while we let everybody in. Thanks, Scott. So everyone, Scott Winnell is our technical director, and our host. Really, I guess I'm monitor, but I want to thank Scott for being able to be in his home. Thanks, Sunny, for her time and her expertise, and Ron, her husband and phenomenal accompanist, wonderful pianist and composer. Ron will be hearing from him as well. So thanks to both of them for giving us their time. I just want to say that I think Sunny is the whole package. And in a day and age when so much is expected of singers, as well it should be, so much is expected of all musicians, right? Everybody has to wear a lot of different hats, but Sunny's been wearing those hats for decades. I discovered her, I don't know, probably 40 years ago, although I don't want to divulge too much about our age, Sunny, because it's
It's
kind of
fine.
tough. It's kind of tough being 40 again. But I discovered Sunny and all these years have realized that she combines not only all the great vocal technique and vocal expertise that you want to hear in every singer's voice, but she is so deeply soulful and so deeply rooted in jazz. And she's such an artiste and she's such a creative and she is just completely brilliant. So without further ado, will you all please help me welcome Sunny Wilkinson, the great Sunny Wilkinson, and the great Ron Newman.
Hello, you beauties. Oh, thank you for your applause. I can hear it from here. A couple things I want to tell you. Ron and I are particularly proud that we got a sound up on Zoom. We got our PreSonus, and it's probably not going to be the best sound, and forgive us if we distort a little bit, but we are going right into Zoom. And then Scott and April, I was wondering if you would make it speaker I was wondering if you would make it speaker dominant so that we show up full screen rather than the whole screen of little people. Would that be all right with you? Can you do that? Good. All right. All right. We're going to just play a couple of tunes for you first in a relaxed and lovely setting in our family room. And and then we're going to just plunge into some topics for the clinic. So this is The Days of Wine and Roses by Henry Mancini. The days of wine and roses, laugh and run away like a child at play through the meadowland toward a closing door, a door marked nevermore that wasn't there before. The lonely night just closes, just a passing breeze full of memories of the golden smile that introduced me to the days of wine and roses. And you, the days of wine and roses, laugh and run away like a child at play through the meadowland toward a closing door, a door marked nevermore that wasn't there before. The lonely night, the just a passing breeze, full of memories of the golden smile that introduced me to the days of wine and roses and you. The days of wine and roses, laugh and run away like a child at play through the meadowland toward a closing door, a door marked nevermore that wasn't there before. The lonely light discloses just a passing breeze, full of memories of the golden smile that introduced me to the days of wine and roses, the days of wine and roses, and you.
Bravo,
Thank you,
bravo.
guys. Is the balance okay, Miss April? Are we doing all right?
It is.
Okay, fantastic. We thought we'd do just a beautiful ballad by one of my favorite composers. This is by Jimmy Van Heusen. It's called But Beautiful. Love is funny, or it's sad, or it's quiet, or it's mad. It's a good thing, or it's bad, but beautiful. Beautiful to take a chance, and if you fall, you fall. And I'm thinking I wouldn't mind at all. Love is tearful, or it's gay. It's a problem, or it's play. It's a heartache, either way. Love can be so beautiful. And I'm thinking, if you were mine, I'd never let you go. that would be but beautiful. Aren't you going to play on this tune? Do you want to hear a chorus from Ronnie? Heck yeah. Yeah. Hey, Ronnie. Yeah, Ronnie. It's beautiful. Love is cheerful or it's gay. It's a problem or it's play. It's a heartache either way. But love can be so beautiful. And I'm thinking if you were mine, I'd never let you go. And that would be but beautiful. I know.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank
Ronnie, what a beautiful solo.
you. And such beautiful accompanying too. Such sensitive, wonderful accompanying, and it's just extraordinary singing, Sonny. Thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
sweetheart.
I'm sure that things that are going through my mind are going through everyone else's. And so I'm going to just leave it to you and to the questions. And why don't
Hold
we?
on just 1 second. I have got to.
Oh,
We
okay.
can see you now.
Yeah.
We see the big backs of you now.
Oh, hello.
I just changed that.
And you look beautiful.
Well, and dang it,
Thank you.
we were so
Thank you so much.
expressive when we were singing and playing too. Darn. Oh well, if we ever get started, maybe we'll do another tune little bit later.
It was very beautiful.
Yes. Thank you.
You have to do another tune. You have to at least do another one, Sonny.
Okay,
Okay.
well, we can do that last tune again. Just kidding.
With bigger faces. Yeah.
So guys, why don't we just chat? And if questions come up, April, you can put them in the chat or you can let me know. But why don't we start? Okay, so first of all, I've got to tell you, I think that this catchy little clinic topic that we chose, energy, space, time, and the art of the duo, sort of is like, everything, everywhere, all at once, and we could spend lifetimes talking about it. But I thought I would just share a few things about some things that I've come up upon recently and see if they resonate with you. What I always like to do when I do a clinic is just ask everybody to take away one or two things that you will remember and put into practice, right? When I used to go to tons of clinics at IAG and etc., I would always take copious notes. And the one thing I would do was take down quotes. And I have quotes from Claire Fisher and Frank Foster and Benny Carter. And it's just a wonderful thing if something strikes you. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. I came across this quote that struck me profoundly, and I thought it might be helpful to you and have some things that resonate with you. Here it is. It is easier to be great when you don't have to worry about being good. I just love that quote. It spoke to me on so
That's
many.
deep.
Isn't that deep?
That's beautiful.
And it's just
Repeat that. It's not.
it is easier to be great when you don't have to worry about
About being.
being good.
I can write that down.
Yeah, if somebody wants to put it in the chat, that would be great too.
Yeah.
I just feel that that is sort of at the essence of everything we do, and how, we can be
Mm-hmm.
so self-conscious and not neurotic, but persnickety about what's going on in our head and how we're appearing and how we are sounding, and are we in tune, and is this good enough, and am I enough, and all the other stuff. And when we can figure out a way, or learn a way, or practice a way to get rid of that, then we can access that great uniqueness that is within each of us, which I just love. So I just listed a few things that have been helpful to me and may be helpful to you with regard to this notion. And they're not in any particular order of importance, but one I think is, you've got to be courageous, folks. Lean into the music all the time. If you don't, you will hesitate and second guess yourself. And that split second of, I did it a couple of times when I was singing the ballad. I was going to go for a note and then I didn't. And it probably didn't glitch to all of you, but it was a little hesitant, right? So I want to tell you a story about my dear, dear duo partner on the West Coast, Frank Potenza. He played with Gene Harris and taught at USC for years. So guitarist, yes, 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 guitarist. Chime in whenever, Ronnie, because I'm going to turn it over to you in a second.
No.
So we would get ready to go on stage and do a concert. We would hold hands and we would pretend that we were strapped to a front of a diesel engine, and we would go, ah, which was, isn't that the greatest thing ever? Sort of fierceness, fierce courageousness, and just lean into it. And another one of my dearest associates in Los Angeles was Tom Garvin, magnificent piano accompanist, played with Carmen, played with many, many people. But he said, if you're not leaning into it hard enough to make at least 3 big mistakes a set and save yourself from them, you're not all the way in the music. Isn't that great? I really love that idea about go for it. And if you can find a partner that you're practicing with and playing with on a regular basis, that is going to help encourage that depth and beauty that we all have, right? We all have. And then I want to say a couple of other things. Practice, and okay, this whole premise for me is our brains, our beautiful, big, developed, fat brains, love to habituate stuff, right? We can make, we're learning things about this every day. We can make new neural pathways. So you young, beautiful singers out there, practicing being more aware, practicing leaning into it will train your brain to do that, right? And then when you're an old codger like me, you don't have to worry about still practicing that. It will be part of your DNA. So then I want you to practice trusting your inner voice. And what I mean by that is your intuition, right? So here's a definition from Webster. Intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So in my world, what that says, you practice your skills, you practice all the things we practice, our phrasing, our tunes, our intuition, our intonation, our improvisation, to a point that they become second nature. They become absolutely intuitive so that you can lean into them without thinking about them. And I just think you can practice that. Sometimes I would have students come into me, they were supposed to learn a tune for the next week. This is when I was at MSU. And I said, do you know the tune? And they go, yeah, I know it. What they meant was they had listened to the tune and had it enough in their ear that they could sing it. That is not knowing a tune. At the very beginning of knowing a tune is having it memorized, right? And then the second part of knowing that tune is practicing it with your partner 20 times, then performing it 20, 100 times, whatever, until you will know when you know that tune, when you have freedom and you can access your greatness on it. Okay. I think this part's a little redundant. I was going to say, get outside your head and be present to the music. But of course, if you're practicing these other ones, you're going to get outside of your head a little bit. Just trust that energy, which we're going to come to in a second. But I did want to say something about that. When I started out singing, when I was young, it was all I could do to keep track of myself, right? And pretty much I was listening to myself, very self-critical ear, right? And if a mistake was being made, it would be something, I know, I would blame myself always. If the bass player made a mistake, it was me. And so little by little, as you play more and you become more aware and your awareness spreads out beyond your inner world, you hear more of the band. You start listening to what the bass player is doing. What's the drummer doing? How am I relating with the piano player? What can I pick up from him? How are we flowing together in this beautiful adventure, right? But I do think that takes some time, right? It just takes the time and patience. But I also do think if you're conscious of that, you can practice the awareness part of it. You can practice listening to the bass player, practice expanding your ability to hear more, and it will happen more quickly. Did you want to say anything about that? You look like
No, not at all. I mean,
Okay.
I'm gonna support some of the things that you're saying, but this all sounds really good.
And I just want to say a quick word about this. And a lot of you have gotten your training in the university, and a lot of you may be studying in the university now. Oh my God, you guys, I wish I would have had that opportunity. What an amazing thing. When I was coming up, the only programs were Berkeley and North Texas, right?
Yeah, there were a couple others starting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty thin.
Pretty thin, right?
Yeah.
And so thank God for my mentors who would spoon feed me this, and then I'd go over here and get that, and then I get this, and then I'd study that independently. And I got an education. And I think the fact that you're getting this university education is phenomenal. But I also think there are a few drawbacks to it, and that is that you can be under a microscope. You know, you can be under scrutiny, and that can be intimidating and make you a little too self-conscious and a little too self-critical. So if and when that happens, please practice your freedom skills. You know, when you're practicing your tunes with your partners, make sure that you take time just to fly free and lean into the music and make lots of mistakes and go, I'm going to purposely screw this up and see where it takes me. Explore and because I think it's so easy to get involved with the expectation of what is external, right? And please practice those skills, my loves. Any questions so far?
I have a question, Sonny.
Yeah.
When you talk about practicing your freedom, Um, are you still doing that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And how do you do it? Sonny, do you use iReal or do you try to work with Ron or someone else on a regular basis?
Well, I'm married to this guy.
Right.
So
Lucky
he
you.
he lucky me. Lucky me. I play enough piano that I accompany myself on equally well in all styles.
Good for you.
Um, I use iReal Pro, especially if I'm practicing a new tune and soloing.
Mhm,
But I think for me, that kind of practice at this point is more mental and spiritual
mhm,
than it is the technical technique part. Um, for example, last week we did a concert in Ohio. It was really sweet. I have had this horrible respiratory thing, and I was able to come back and do a concert with Ron, and our sound check was pretty darn good.
Yeah,
And
great
then
sound
when we
guy.
got on stage, the sound guy had set up these flashing LEDs, and they were different colors, and they would flash every 3 or 4 seconds, like this. And my brain just got sort of like a deer in headlights, and I got tense and I got stiff, and I was so distracted. The bandstand's distracting. And it can be particularly distracting, I think, when you're with a duo because you don't have a lot of stuff around you. It's pretty naked, right? It's you and your collaborative partner. Um, so what I do for those moments is I have practiced finding my center and finding my focus for so many years now. It may take me a tune or two, and that's a little panic-stricken time, but I can find it. I find it with breath. I find it with, we all know that the square breath, the inhaling for 4, suspending it, not holding it for 4, releasing it for 4, suspending it for 4. That really helps me. Um, Taking stock of when I get distracted or upset or, tense, which, I'm kind of a type A person, I can get tense. I like to see if I'm grounded because all of a sudden we haven't really talked about energy yet. We will, hopefully. But I can feel myself from here up, and that's about all. So I really purposefully let everything sink into the ground, let my legs get heavy. This is kind of, abstract, but I do picture my feet having roots growing into the ground. And then I breathe into that. I breathe through my whole body. And then because I practice this idea of focus and leaning in, that's what I do to help get rid of the distraction and get me back in the zone. Did that answer your question, April?
It sure did.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then the last thing I want to say about this little subject of what's the quote? This quote, I've got to memorize it. It's easier to be great when you don't have to worry about being good. I just love that. So to me, the most important thing about this whole thing, I don't care if you're studying seriously, Charlie Parker solos or whatever you're doing, it's supposed to be fun. Please do this with the spirit of play. You know, uh, I see some of the young local singers coming up here, and they're so joyful, and it thrills me. Olivia, you're like that. I don't know who else is on, but it thrills me to see the spirit going on, right? Don't forget that. This is supposed to be fun, right?
I've heard that.
Uh, all right. Well, so in this crazy title of ours, it's energy, space, time, and they're huge topics, but may I plunge just a little bit into those? Ronnie's going to talk about What if we had you talk now, Ronnie, and you want to talk a little bit about practicing? Would that be okay if we
Yeah,
went
I'll
on
do
that?
that. Then we can get into the other stuff.
Yeah, because I don't want to hog the whole thing here.
Right. Welcome, everybody. So a couple things I want to just reinforce. We tend to do that all the way through, but I just one anecdote. So I'd heard Sonny sing numerous times in California and Detroit, and then we finally met, and then we got married. So I mean, that's kind of a long story, but that's the very short version of it. But just marveled at her professionalism. All of a sudden now she's living in the same house here, and one of the first things that struck me and was that when she rehearsed and she's downstairs practicing in our music room or wherever we were at that time, it just sounded like she was on stage. Uh, she didn't retreat into some sort of shell or anything else. It's like, no, here I am. This is what it takes. And her to listen to her practice was amazing. It was inspiring just because you could feel the things she was talking about, the energy that she just it was like, oh, here's how it's got to be done. So I might as well do it. So I just want to, she does practice what she preaches there. And it was quite an amazing thing when I first started listening to her practice. And it was just pretty, it was a lot of fun. So I'm going to move outside of the topic just a little bit because I think that there are some things that I always like to put into clinics now. Uh, I grew up playing jazz, but I did a lot of classical. All my degrees are classical, but I wound up being the director of jazz studies at Michigan State, and I did that for 15 years. And I went to North Texas because I wanted to play some jazz along with everything else.
Who were the other two piano players that were there with you in North Texas?
Well, there were 25 other piano players, but I will say my last year I did make it up to number 3, and that's if I was the saxophone player I'd be in the 1 o'clock. But yeah, ahead of me was Pat Coyle, who you may not know, but holy cow, he's L.A. and oh my gosh, what a player! And then the other guy was what was that guy's name?
Who was that guy?
Oh yeah, Lyle Mays. He's had a pretty good career. There was a fairly big gap there, but the point is, I've spent all this time in jazz, and I find it amazing, and all the music by the classical stuff too, which I got back into. That it's amazing how much I've learned since I've been 40. I could come in to see former students, and they say, "Wow, I was in your band, or I did these classes, back when I was young," and I just say, "Have I given you your money back yet?" Because I just feel like as you get older, you just keep learning things, and we just want to pass these along. And here's just a couple things, and they're actually quite specific. Here's number one. Uh, if you want to do something like this, it's hard. It's hard to play. It takes a lot of time, thousands of hours, and you have to learn to be patient. Otherwise, it's no fun. We're talking about fun. You go into a practice room and you set, this is going to be perfect, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and it's like, no, it's not how it works. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and I'm going to get into that. But I think that the idea is, I really think it's important to take the long term, whether it's, okay, I'm thinking of a month, or I'm thinking of a year, or I'm thinking of 10 years. It's that we just keep trudging along, and it's amazingly you get better. Yesterday, we were talking with a friend of ours who's a marvelous symphonic classical musician. And she had shown us this picture. She said, I got to show this. And it was in her classical garb from a number of years ago. We're all much older now. And she was just saying, isn't this funny? Look how we looked back then and everything. But the thing that I remember is she said, the amazing thing is I'm playing so much better now. I mean, she was playing great back then. She's a symphony orchestra player, so it's like it just keeps going. And at some point, it's just really fun. So as difficult as things are about it, stay patient, keep at it. Now, I think there are certain items, I'm going to get into 2 things that are specific, that I call systemic. They're just part of almost everything we do. And those have to be conquered. you have to develop these things. And I think you want to be practicing them almost every day. I've got a certain amount of list here. Well, one, technique, whatever that means to you, whatever your instrument is. You have to be focusing. Maybe you can only get 10 minutes today on it, or you're practicing this lick or that lick. But technique, people practice that a lot. That's not one that gets sidestepped, but it's still one that sometimes in the heat of, especially at the university, you got to learn this tune and that tune and play it. But just sitting down and developing basic skills on your instrument sometimes gets lost. All right? Playing time. Everywhere I go, I have a metronome. Now, I know there are people that don't like the metronome, and maybe they have a lot better time than I do. I think that could be true, but time is so important. And I do think that you need to have time set apart to say, all right, I'm going to put the metronome there, and it's going to force me to be correct. Whether I'm trying to play quarter note equals 40 or whether it's going to be 220. So I think that's a everyday thing. Pitch. All right. Oh my gosh. I'm so lucky. I play piano. I've got an excuse. Here it is. It's fall to the tuner, but we don't want to hear people that are out of tune. And yet I think some people get so frustrated by that they kind of give up on it. And some really good players and good singers go, just go in, find ways that you can work on pitch every day. Trust me, in a year, you're going to be better. Tone quality, absolutely. This is one of my big issues right now, one of mine. I just, every piano I get to is different and I got to figure it out, but gosh, do I like tone quality. Okay, here's a big one, ear training. Theory came easy to me, I'll be honest with you, but not ear training. You want me to tell you about augmented sixth chords in any key, anytime, but you want me to hear it? That's another thing. It's difficult. And I think that jazz depends so much on the ear. And one of the things that's going to help loosen you up is when you learn to depend more and more on your ear and less on the theory. We come in and we say to you, here's a Dorian mode, here's a Phrygian mode. It doesn't work that well for singers. They still have to do it. But all the rest of us, a deaf person can play jazz piano pretty well, so to speak, But I like to go in and say, all right, now I just love to just play by ear. Think through what I want to do and see if I can match it. Little by little, come up with little melodies. And all of a sudden I find I'm not thinking about theory. I'm just trying to do something that works beautifully behind Sonny or in my solos. So when I say ear training, all the things you work on, but mainly on your instrument, just sit down and see if you can anticipate what it is that you want to do and play that. And I think that's very important. And finally, the last thing, again, everything, there's certain aspects of music that really have to be ingrained. And you don't know it until you learn it. And I'll give you the prime example, the 4-measure phrase. How many years did I sit at a piano playing, even professionally, where I'm counting? I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm not going to get lost, I can do it. And then one day I go, oh my gosh, I'm not counting. I still remember down at North Texas, I was playing through a tune and I went, oh my gosh. That's what they mean by that. Just, it said you got to feel it. Well, most of the time I felt bad. All of a sudden I went, oh my gosh. I started to feel it. Once I kind of had that sensation, I knew what I was striving for. And I just work at it like crazy. And again, it's long term. But if you work at it a little bit every day, it comes along and it just frees you up. Hearing the 4-bar phrase, for instance, and basic progressions, 2-5-1 progressions, all those cadence progressions, you don't want to be thinking about those. They got to become automatic. Everything else does eventually, but those are the ones that I would stress. So now I just want to talk about one other thing, and it's practicing. And I'm going to say something, and I don't mean it to sound whatever it sounds like, but I'm just telling you the truth. I haven't had a bad practice session. Now it's been decades, and I'd say years. I haven't had a bad session. And you go, how can that be? Because some days things just aren't working very well. And it's because I adjust the parameters that I'm working on. And the number one thing is tempo if I'm working on something. You know, I'm supposed to be playing it at 180, and I'm just fracking all over the place. Well, I'm going to find out where I can play it, and it may be, forget 180, it may be 80. It doesn't matter. If I can't play it, I can't play it. And I come back to a place where it's like, okay, now I'm getting it under my fingers. Let's move it up to 84. All right, now it's moving better. And maybe I don't get it up to 180, maybe I only get it to 120. But in that period of time, I haven't been screwing up. I haven't been wasting time. And I learned by not wasting time that in the long run, I get better a whole lot faster. I had to learn a piece. A friend of mine retiring this year, and he said, "Hey, we're going to do it. So we're all tennis players, and we got this little. So I got this little piece I want you to play." It was ungodly hard for me. These guys are going boopy doop doopy doop doop, and I'm like going, "What is this?" And he gives it to me. I got to tell you, I think I started that at quarter note equals 10, but we performed it last week and it went pretty darn well.
It was great.
So the idea is I mean it. I don't have a bad practice session. I'd say, okay, what's not going well? What do I have to do to make it go well? And I don't mean that I'm supposed to be doing things perfectly. There are so many things where I go, for instance, if I'm thinking in terms of time. I'm not trying to say, okay, now my time is great. It's like, okay, I'm going to play these 20 measures with the metronome, and now I'm going to play without them, and now I'm going to see if I can keep it there. I'll practice things a certain number of times. And I know, next day, maybe better, maybe worse, but over time, it gets there. So the main thing that I want you to do is I'd like you to, in the practice room, to develop what I call a system of success, where every day one of two things happens. You or both. The technical licks that you're trying to get, you're playing them correctly, maybe a very slow speed, but you're doing it. And the second thing is that the things that you're not comfortable with, you're at least practicing them. And if you say, "Oh, I did it 10 times," and you go, "I did it 10 times. Thank you. I'm getting a beer." And that's so much better than this sense of frustration that we often come out with the practice room, where we go, "God, I'm having a bad day, and I suck." And, it's real, and it does not want you. If you have that feeling, you don't want to go to the practice room the next day. It's much better to come out going, "You know what? This worked pretty well today, and I practiced this, and I practiced that, and I know now that in 2 weeks, I'm going to be a lot better. In a month, I'm going to be a lot better. Or tomorrow, I'm going to be a lot better." Have a system of success in the practice room, and you're going to enjoy the process a whole lot better, a whole lot more. And I'm done.
Great. That was great, Ronnie.
Well, thank you.
April asked us if we'd play a tune.
Okay.
Shall we
do it?
go? So
Yes.
I just need to switch a few things over here.
Thank you, Ron. It's so good for us to hear an instrumentalist's perspective, not only from your own, your own journey, but your journey as a teacher as well. So your journey as a player and a teacher. And I think that especially from a pianist, it helps us singers understand where you're coming from and just get a better idea of working together and what you have to go through, because a pianist's practicing is so different than a singer's.
Absolutely.
So thank you for
And
sharing.
the other thing is all of that applies to us. Every single one of those things applies to singing.
I want to say to the attendees, I'm so taken every time I hear Sunny by her sense of freedom with the melody of a song. And of course, never getting lost, but only enhancing it. And then also her sense of technique, her control of her voice. And Sunny, without even me asking you, you addressed all those things in all of the bullet points you said to us. So thank you very much for that.
Of
Love to
course.
hear you sing again, and then we'll have some more questions.
All right, sounds good. We did a swing tune and a ballad. This tune is an original written by Ellen Rowe, who's a beautiful pianist and teaches at U of M, the other school. And by the way, I think Michigan State won last night. Is that correct? Absolutely. Sorry. And I wrote the lyrics. This is called Phoenix. Up there, spinning madly around in the air, high on the Ferris wheel, I am overwhelmed. Just to dive on a crazy ride in reality. Oh, so rare, re-emerging high on the certainty, stretching out my arms in flight, take a breath and capture the sky, high above the people who wander below. I'm free here at last, at last. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Oh, la 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 la. Up there, spinning madly around in the air, high on a Ferris wheel, I am overwhelmed. Just to die on a crazy ride in reality. Oh, so rare, re-emerging high on the certainty, stretching out my arms in flight, take a breath and capture the sky, high above the people who wander below. I'm free at last.
Wow.
All
What a
right.
great tune.
Isn't that a
What
beautiful tune? I love that tune. Hold on.
incredible tune. And Ron, that was just phenomenal accompanying. Who needs a band when you have Ron Newman? Who needs a band?
I know, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
great, nice to hear you scat a little bit, Sonny. And you know, I know everybody strives to do their own music, so it's wonderful to hear your creativity. So I'm sure everybody's loving this as much as me. And I wonder if anybody has any specific questions. You can put it in the chat or just raise your hand, unmute your mic. Anka, do you have something you want to say? Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Anybody have something? We can just listen to Sonny and Ron pontificate because they're so good at it.
Oh, thanks.
Here.
Pontificating, I like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes. So Sonny, there's a question in the
That's a
chat.
great word.
Oh, wonderful.
Sonny, how do you practice tone quality for singing? That's from Julie. How do you practice tone quality for singing?
Hi, Julie.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I,
wonder that too.
I love that question. We're the original instrument, right? And our whole body is our instrument, which I also love. So, um, tone quality, we're born with, right? We have a certain range and quality in our speaking voice. Um, but, oh my God, and here's another part of that question. There are so many tone qualities we can achieve. You know what I mean? We can achieve so many things. And it's also quite amazing how many different things we can achieve with our human voice. You know what I mean? That's silly, I know, but there are so many qualities that we can move and lean into in jazz, and I encourage you to explore them all. I think one of the best ways to explore tone quality and find your tone quality is exactly the same way instrumentalists do. I think almost everything that we talk about translates back and forth. We're not in a vacuum. So you guys do long tones on vowels. Oh, right? Take a vowel, take a particular vowel, sing a long tone, get louder, add more vibrato, get softer, lean it out, reverse it, then maybe do it on an E, make it brighter. E, no vibrato. E. It'll help you with your uh, dynamics too and help you diminuendo. I think that's the best way to do it, actually.
Could I
Certainly,
jump it in there?
yeah.
I think it's all really good. But I would suggest one other thing, especially for vocalists. I think you should record yourself.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because we don't really know what we sound like.
Absolutely.
And Sunny, of course, has recorded numerous albums and she was in the studios all the time. She's gotten used to what her voice sounds like.
That's true.
But I think that I would be doing it. If I was a vocalist, I'd be recording every day because I think that what you're hearing from this part of it is not what is being heard out there. And I think you need to get a grasp of what's actually being heard out there. And so that's why I would make that suggestion.
And that's really good. Also, you guys, because we can be such chameleons, right? There can be so many different sounds that we can make and emit. I, um, I want you to think about this. This is a quote from Claire Fisher. The music is the message, right? So, for example, there are some tunes that you can get all fancy and busy and lick ridden and fly all over the place. And there's some tunes that you're just going to sing beautifully and simply and sparely. Same thing goes with tone quality, right? You're not going to sing a Whitney Houston tune, although we probably aren't going to be doing those in jazz, the same way you're going to be singing that Jimmy Van Heusen tune. You want tone and warmth because the lyric is so beautiful. And I'm big on this brain thing. I really do love the fact that, and I think my Alexander technique teacher and tremendous violist might be here, Eleanor Morin. I have learned so much from studying Alexander technique, you guys. How to be up and keep your posture for singing and living. But the other thing and the most important thing is we direct, right? Our brain directs. You direct what you want your tone to be. So if you say, I want to warm this up, you can warm it up. I say, I'm going to have direct it to be brighter. And there's a different placement, further forward, a little thinner. But I think you can practice all those tone qualities and be aware of them and direct to your voice. Does that make sense? Did I say that with enough clarity so that it doesn't sound
Thank
ridiculously
you.
abstract?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was good. Both of you did a good job with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I love Ron's suggestion about recording. That's brilliant.
I
And
agree. I agree.
Sonny, thank you for that. I think the long tones are an awesome something for us to all remember that we need to do. And Sonny, we have 2 questions in the chat.
Okay, let me just say one more thing about that. And you guys don't forget that we have 2 ways of supplying tone quality, right? And dynamics. We have our acoustic instrument, but we also have the microphone.
Yeah.
So don't forget that microphone is your tool. And don't forget about the proximity effect of the mic. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Very simply, the closer you get, the warmer and a little woofier it is. And the further back you get, the thinner, brighter it is. So definitely practice your acoustic ability to find the tone that you want or that you want to dwell in, but also you can use that microphone as a tool for that.
Thank you. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sonny, I'm going to take one question at a time. We have one from Lisa and one from Olivia. And Lisa's came first, and it says, I'm struggling now with post-nasal surgery and aging voice. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, honey, I
That's
hear.
from Lisa.
How old, is it okay if I ask her how old she is or roughly? Yeah, she don't have to answer if she doesn't want to.
Um,
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. So, thank you. I am in the same place, Lisa, around, and I'm going to be 73 on my next birthday. And I think it's a really, it's real, right? From your 40s, 50s on, things change. And I'm just going to give a little overview. The 50s were the worst for me because that was menopause and the voice just goes through huge changes. All of a sudden you don't have estrogen and everything's all dried out and it's tense and it's mad. I almost gave up singing because I thought I would never have fun. I would have to warm up all day to be able to sing a concert and then it was tight. I did find out, by the way, that if you're taking estrogen replacement, part of those tension symptoms can be from that. Now, that's only anecdotal, so don't take my word for it. But the 60s, it started to free up for me. I do think a couple of things. I feel so grateful that I'm my age and I still have my range and flexibility. Um, I warm up every day. Do I sing tomes of literature every day? No, I do not. I don't. But I sing every day and I get the elasticity going in my voice from top to bottom. And sometimes when it's rough, I start on the bottom and I get it loose and way, I'll warm it up way down there. And that tends to loosen up the top. Make sure you're working on breathing because I think as we get older, your breathing diminishes and our beautiful, wonderful breath support system can be challenged. Work on agility and just sing. I mean, you may have certain little breaks in your voice that are more predominant now. I don't know what exactly the problem is, but it's tricky.
Yeah.
It is tricky.
I'd
It's a
like
tricky
to add
one.
one thing in on that though too, is that we're fortunate because we're talking about jazz, and if we need to, and this is true for instrumentalists too, make adjustments, sometimes big adjustments. We can do it because we're allowed that freedom. That if you're a soprano, singing Wagner, you got to do that. And there comes a time, usually long before this, somewhere around age 50, where it's like, I can't do that anymore, really, but we're fortunate that if you work on keeping in shape, and I will say that I don't have the issues of the voice, but I have a number of physical issues. And it's tough. It's very hard for me. And yet I'm learning to deal with them on the piano even. And, but I love the fact that putting all this focus in the jazz world, because I can adapt my musical thinking to say, okay, I don't need to showcase my limitations. Nobody wants to hear those. Hey, you can't do that anymore. That's right. I'm trying to do this. And so that's one other thing to think about with the voice is that, if you have some range issues, if you've got certain things going on, well, we can learn new licks. We can learn new ways to approach things.
And also, my loves, you can lower your keys. Look at Sarah Vaughan. Look at Joni Mitchell, for heaven's sake.
Right.
Lisa, did that answer your question, or is there a more specific thing you'd like me to address on that?
He said, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just going to jump in real quickly. Lisa, don't give up, because Sunny put it so eloquently, but I've experienced a little bit of the same thing, kind of a shutdown for a few years. It was so difficult, and then coming back. But I believe in the agility, doing scales for me more now than ever before.
Also, Lisa, I just want to share, my oldest student started studying when he was 80, okay?
Wow.
Not only was he 80, but he was pretty deaf.
Oh.
And he had no sense of pitch, really. This is so sweet. But we recovered like his a low F, and then we got his falsetto up to an F. I can't remember the names of the.
Yeah, above middle C.
No, above the C, above that. He had
Wow.
falsetto.
Oh,
So we
falsetto.
recovered his whole range. So I think if you're patient, if you're patient,
My word.
and
Tough.
just work at it, and certainly lightening up the voice a little bit, I think you'll be amazed at how it can still open up for us.
Thank you, Sunny. Also, folks, I'm going to plug Sunny, because she won't do it herself because she's so humble, but she a very busy working voice teacher. And I know that, if you are interested perhaps in lessons with Sunny, maybe you can leave your information for her. I don't know. It's a thought, or even, discussions over Zoom, right, Sunny? Okay, here's a question from Olivia. She says, I know some beginning jazz singers who don't necessarily have a duo partner, and they don't know how to go about that. So they mostly practice alone with iReal Pro, mostly because socially it's scary to trust. What are some things you both look for in duo partners, and do you have suggestions for people who want to find some?
First of all, I want to say I think this is such a hard time. Post-COVID, there has been a downtrend in places to play for jazz musicians for quite some time. But post-COVID has made it really difficult. Is it starting to come back? Yes, I think it is. And Olivia, you're the testament to, you're out there working all the time. Good for you, man. It's fabulous. I think okay, here's what I suggest. Play with anybody you can get your hands on. I don't care if they're country musicians. Go sing country music. Play with live people. You may have to go to notice boards at colleges, on cafe. You may have to put it out onto social media. I don't know your circumstances, right? to sort of put the word out there, you have to actively go try and find people to play with. I know it's hard. When I moved to LA, I didn't know anyone. I was down at the Musicians Union every day looking for people to play with. I got the LA Weekly, and I just sort of put myself out there all the time, go to people's gigs, sit in. Um, it's really hard when you're beginning. And I know iReal Pro is an amazing thing. I can't fault it at all. It's great. As a matter of fact, have you guys seen the new Brazilian pack they have? It's great. It
Mhm.
feels good. It's not
Wow.
that still, it's really good. Download it. It's like 350. It's really good. But you cannot learn this music in a vacuum. You can't, because it's communication and idea exchange and loosening and freeing and flowing, and you have to do it with people. Um, Maybe Scott and April and Ron, you'd have some suggestions too. I think it's a tricky question.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things. It's not like we practice this. It's interesting. I was interested to hear what Sonny would say, and she said exactly like what I would say, which is not to say that it's easy to go out and find people to play with, but it's imperative. It simply is. And uh, how do you do that? It's not easy, but you start making phone calls, you go talk to people, uh, and I do agree with the one thing she said also. I mean, I agree with everything she said on that. Uh, there may be somebody that is not quite what you're looking for, but maybe they're out there doing it. It may be a gospel organist. It may be what who knows what it is, but it may be kind of fun to say, well, let's get together and try some things. And I do like that. I was somewhat resistant early on, I think when I was very young. And then I got some opportunities to work with a variety of people, and I went, my gosh, this is fun. I mean, uh, I did a folk album with a couple friends of mine, and the down part, the only down part, was one of the most fun things, and I think musically it was highly satisfying. But this particular group of people, and it's very large. These are real people. They don't want piano. They want guitar,
I'm sorry, honey.
And it was like, wow, just so I got to the point, and this lady really stuck her neck out there by recording an album with a pianist, and but she got me all excited about some of this wonderful music, and then everybody goes, hey, yeah, we really like that, but no, we wanted guitars. But I I just want to say, just take a positive idea to it, get up, make a few phone calls every day, call this, hey, do you know this? Uh, be proactive and try to find people to play with. And by the way, some of them are going to be bad.
That's true.
Okay, that's true, but you just keep doing it.
I have one other idea for you guys, and that is, uh, of course, junior colleges and universities and young jazz piano players. I know it seems intimidating if you're just starting off, but a lot of young jazz piano players do not know how to play with a singer. So honestly, I'm telling you this, they need you as much as nice try.
No,
They need you as much as you need them. They need to learn how to uh, harmonically set up and play with a singer, and they need to learn how to leave space. So you approaching them is going to help them too.
Yeah.
Excellent
Scott,
advice.
April, ideas?
Thank you, Olivia. Did that help? I hope. It is tricky. I think it's especially tricky now. But you can find people. I know you can. They're great musicians, and they're musicians that want to play.
I think that getting out and going to some jam sessions too, of course. And if you're not ready right away, you can just go to the jam session and check it out. Maybe go a couple times, sit through, watch how it develops, go to listen, as Scott just said. And then maybe get a good couple charts together and give it a try.
Yeah, it's really good. And I'd like to, I'll say one other thing along that line, because with the jam session thing with some young people, having gone through all this, I- you have to be a self-starter. And
Yeah.
you're on the people that are listening to this, you're taking the time to do this. But I do find a certain group of people, some of them fairly talented, but they're waiting for somebody else to tell them what to do every step of the way. And you don't have to do that. You find four tunes that make you think you can sing, and it may show up at a jam session. They may all be F blues, but you don't need somebody to hold your hand to learn those tunes. Go learn them. You said, "Gee, I went to 3 jam sessions, and here's 2 tunes that were pretty cool, and people were doing them. I'm going to go do it." You don't need a teacher to do that. You don't, it's like, okay, now you go up there and you say, "I haven't done this very much." But you're prepared, and you can do a lot of that stuff on your own, so that when you get the chance to finally stand up there, uh, you'll just feel a little bit better about it. I'm not really a fan of I need a teacher for everything. I really like the idea that you can teach yourself an amazing amount of things, to be honest.
That's great advice too. And I like that takes us back to what Sunny said in the beginning of the clinic, with being courageous and just trying. And I think that when we fall flat on our face as singers, we feel, you feel badly, but I don't know that the people playing with you think it's so bad. I think that oftentimes, especially if you can recover, they'll appreciate that you're taking a chance.
Exactly.
So brilliant. All right. How about, are there some other questions? Olivia did say, Sonny, I appreciate how you articulated this, affirming to what I knew to be true, but you both answered this in such a kind and realistic way. And I'm going to share this with some of my students.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, Olivia.
And Scott is suggesting to go to jam sessions to listen, just to even listen.
Just to, yeah, go to everything just to listen.
Mhm.
Go to everything. I mean, I know I I love listening to jazz, but I go to listen to as much of everything that you can get your hands on, right? Because it's going to deepen your ears. You're going to start to hear more the more you listen.
Sonny,
And
I've heard you sing a lot of other styles other than jazz. I've heard you sing a lot of different genres and nail them.
well, I wouldn't go that far. In my youth, I did a lot of session work where I had to do all kinds of things. I don't know if you all remember the show Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Oh, probably too young. Um, but I sang on
I'm
the theme.
really cool.
What? Oh, I sang on the
That's a
theme.
throw. So that's throwback. I'm really show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone
But
remembers
uh,
it.
here's the
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah.
sorry,
So, um,
sorry.
I sang a bunch of like country tunes for that. And I sang, so I'm not a chameleon like some of those studio singers, but I can approximate it. And
Yeah.
also, you guys, jazz is a big, wide category these days.
Right.
It can't just be standards.
Yeah.
It cannot. I mean, during my time, it wasn't just standards because I came up in the fusion era of Los Angeles. So we were doing Jazz Crusader tunes and Chick Corea tunes and pop tunes made into jazz. And I know you're doing that now. Jazz is flexible. It can be influenced by all the other mediums and bring them in. I just I just did that. What's his name? Who wrote this tune? Compared to what? Who wrote Compared to What?
Yeah. Uh, uh,
Try to make it real. Compared to what?
Eddie? Was it Eddie Harris?
Eddie Harris,
Yeah.
yes. And that was in the late 60s, right? But it still has a contemporary theme. And it's just fun to experiment in all those other different realms.
Yeah. Sonny, I've got a question in kind of a completely different lane, but something that's so relevant for all of us. Let's say you show up on a gig there is a sound system there, and there's somebody there who's going to help you get the best sound possible. Do you have some basic phrases that you use to describe the kind of sound you want? Because we're at their mercy.
Okay, so you guys,
Great question.
that's a great question. So this goes back to iReal Pro, right? It's like you can practice your jazz tunes with iReal Pro till the cows come home. But till you get out there and play with real people that are different, and every piano player is different and every guitar player is different, and you start melding yourself with those beautiful, beautiful players, you can't sing jazz. It's the same thing with sound.
Right.
I mean, you've got to get out and experience it. And I am very persnickety about my sound these days. And because I've earned the right to be persnickety about it. I've sung on terrible sound systems. I've sung with no monitors. I sound where you can't hear anything but the band and you're just sort of yelling. Um, I'm going to answer this in a circuitous way. I have found that when I cannot hear myself, I have been doing this a majority of my life, and I still oversing if I can't hear myself. I press on myself and lean in too hard. I should do the opposite. It is not in my nature. So, yes, you want to get familiar with the technology, at least a little bit, right? So definitely you can if you have a sound system, you can play with it yourself. If you have sound systems at college, you can play with it there. If you don't, you can go to go to a music store if they still are selling them from there and mess around with them. But you've got to get familiar with equalization. You've got to get familiar with, very simply highs, mids, and lows, right? And the human voice is just right at the mids. And if you're singing in a safe place, have the teacher say, okay, we're going to boost the highs here. What does your voice sound like there? Okay, what about if we boost the mids? And what if we boost the lows? Take it. So start to develop your ear to how you want to hear your voice. You want your voice to sound like you, right? Secondly, in any sound system, it is set optimally at what's called unity. That means where all the little knobs are set straight up. So you want them all, the highs, mids, and lows, maybe even volume, right? Set straight up, and then go from there. And you will tune your ear little by little, and you'll be able to say, the high mids are it's a little tubby. Could you put a little bit more, a little high end on that? I think you can do that even at a beginning level. You'll think, my voice sounds kind of muffled, kind of boffy. Maybe they have too much bass. I'm speaking very simply here. A lot of them have more advanced IQ. Oh, and then you have to make sure that you have, oh, sorry. If you have monitors, which pray God, I hope you do, you need monitors, right? You need to be able to hear yourself. And if you are a nuanced singer like I am, you have to be able to sing to hear yourself. Otherwise, you can't do what you do. And then it's not fun. That's just drudgery, right? So I'm not saying that belting people don't need to hear themselves too. They do. They do, and they need absolutely. But if you have a monitor, have the sound person turn off the mains and just get the sound up in your monitor first. Make sure it's got warmth, make sure it's got some crispness on the high end, and make sure you have enough volume so that you can hear yourself. That was a great question, April. Did that answer it, do you think, for the people out there?
I think that's a great answer, especially within the confines of today's clinic. Even if they can use a couple of those phrases that you outlined, and it's I've seen you work with sound before you've given a performance or a clinic, and you are persnickety, and that's why you sound. That's one of the many reasons, in addition to all of your hard work, that you sound so great.
Yeah.
Interesting example. A couple of years ago, you and Ron were, I think, featured on the duo stage at the Michigan Jazz Festival. And that stage had, I don't know, 5 or 6 singers, maybe more, come through throughout the day. And I think hands down, you had the best sound. And I think it's because you knew how to work with the sound engineer by telling them what you wanted from your voice.
And don't be afraid, right? If you can't hear yourself, or if there's an imbalance in the band, okay, here's another little tip. Oftentimes, young sound engineers are going to be really bass heavy and kick drum heavy. They love to boost the bass. And if you have an acoustic bass on a big sound stage where it's boffy and kind of, there's going to be this weird sweep of bass sound across the stage, and you cannot basically not hear everything. So here's what I do. I say, hey guys, I want you to turn everything off. I want the most acoustic sound you can give me. Just turn it all off and we'll start from zero and just boost up. And then, because the most important thing, other than our audience, of course, is for us to hear well. And sometimes they're putting so much stuff through the monitors and the sound system that you cannot hear. So that's a little tip. Take it back to nothing and start acoustically, and then just get what you need. And that's going to really help you.
I love that.
Can I
Good.
add one thing in here?
Yes.
So I'm not contradicting myself, but I'm taking a different thing. I mean, previously I talked about how much I think we need to get out there on our own and learn things. I don't think sound's one of those things. I have learned so much working with Sonny about sound systems, and I thought I knew some stuff before. And if I don't care how old you are, but if you think you're out there singing, I think it would be beneficial to pay somebody many times to go in and say, let's just work on my sound. What are you doing? What do you hear? How are you changing it? And all these things, these parameters that Sonny's talking about. Uh, wouldn't it be great if there was somebody in your town that you knew had a system, and you could say, "Hey, let me get a lesson from you. Let's go in and let's just hear me do this because I think this is a pretty big learning curve, and it's really something that I think you need to do with a pro." Uh, and so before I was talking about learning things on your own, but I think the sound system thing uh, is something that if you can do it, you separate it out from everything else. You say, hey, I'm going to go work with this person and we're going to test out microphones, and little by little you get a feel, you start to understand what your sound is and what you like. So that's
I
my two.
think I actually think that's a great idea. So Sonny, Sonny and Ron, I'm wondering if we can squeeze just a few more things into our last few minutes here. I have a question. We have a question from Anka from Belgium, and then if we have time,
Hello.
maybe if we have time for another a final tune, if we can squeeze it in, we can.
All
But
right.
anyway, Anka, can you see it? Or would you like me to read it to you, Sonny?
I can't see it.
Oh, okay. So Anka says, "Hi from Belgium. So nice to see you both again. What is something you do to get yourself into the headspace for performing? And what is your way of connecting with an audience? I'm doing my research on this topic."
Oh, wow, there's a big subject. What is it that I do to get ready for performance, and how do I connect with the audience?
Right.
Um, so again, I think this has been years in the making. This, if if I am lucky enough, and I am increasingly that because I'm older, I like to take the day to prepare
Hmm.
for a concert.
Wow.
I like to, um, I again, I'm going to answer this circuitously. I am a physical being. If I don't have a lot of activity in my life and body, I can turn all that great energy inward very quickly, and not in a good way. I'm a big swimmer. I swim my 1,200 meters three times a week, and I am a big yoga advocate. I take 3 yoga classes a week, and then I do it all the time here at home. If I'm preparing here at home, I will do like 20, 30 minutes of yoga and center my body and mind. And for me, it's the most important is the breath. Because life can squeeze you into a narrow position and you want to be expansive and you want to be breathing and connected to your whole body. So that is really important to me. Also, I'm crazy about a vocal regimen. Um, when I'm doing a concert, maybe I'm not as conscientious about it every day when I'm not doing a concert next week, but boy, I get my voice in really good shape. And the day of the concert, I will go down and, of course, do my vocal workout. You all work with your teachers, but you also will develop your own path for what opens your own voice, right? I know what opens my voice. Um, I know what I need to attend to. And the more you do it, you'll know. So I just take care of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And if I start, I always love this too. And so many people have told me this when I was young. It's like when you start getting nervous, it's like you're not anxious, you're not nervous, you're anticipating getting on stage. You're building up the momentum to get out there and focus your beauty through your music. So don't forget that too. But if it gets overwhelming, man, breathe. I was doing that beforehand, right?
Yeah.
I was doing breath of fire because I was cold. And that is not an attractive thing. Go. um, so that's what I do. I'm sure there are other things, there's just the general health thing about eating. But those are my centering things that I do to okay. And also, you got to be prepared. You have to know your music inside and out, right? You really do. Um,
How
I
about the
think
audience part?
preparation helps for you too.
oh,
Yeah,
and the
what about
audience, and then the audience. Okay, I'm going to go back and say when I started singing, I didn't know what to do with my hands. They felt like giant gorilla hands of steel when I was on stage. And I was so self-conscious that I could always sing and communicate, but boy, I just felt so clumsy on stage. So I'm assuming that some of you are self-conscious on stage and that have a difficulty putting yourself out there like that. And this is another skill that you acquire. So if you're a little introverted and don't love being in front of people, that's okay. You will learn this skill. You have a depth and a beauty about you that will come out as you learn to feel comfortable on stage. I always like to think that my audience has been invited into my living room and that they're putting their feet up on my furniture and on my tables, and I'm giving them my best wine and my best food. That they are my guests. So, in other words, guys, you don't have anything to prove to them. You know, they're not your enemy. They are your friends. They are people who love you and want to love you. They want to see that you're fantastic. So I'm opening up my personal sphere to include them. And that's what I do. I, uh, I talk to them like they're my own and I bring them in. Sometimes the audiences are tougher. I'm lucky these days because I don't do those tougher audiences gigs because they're too hard. But um, you become more poised and more intuitive about reading your room and how to pull them in. And don't forget, we didn't even get a chance to talk about energy. Don't forget that we are all energetic beings, right? Everything around us is made out of energy. Even our table is more moving particles of energy than it is solid. So if you learn over time to put your energy out into that room and let it be expansive in a soft, wonderful way, inclusive way, you will get your audience on your side. So many of us in the beginning drop off our energy here. So we're singing right to this hand, and that's where it drops off. And it's very difficult to communicate to your audience. It has to be a little more generous, a little more open. Does that help? Does that make sense, Anka? By the way, how lovely you're here. I'm so happy to see you or hear you. I can't see you.
He's smiling.
Yay. Mwah.
Thank you. Sonny, you're so generous. Ron, you as well. You're generous with your comments, with your sharing your experiences and tapping into what we need. And I can't thank you enough. And I know everybody feels the same way, everyone who's on the Zoom with us. And I wonder, is it, can you sing us can you sing us out?
Sure.
Can we?
What should we do?
For me that we did before. Sound to me.
But not for now. We could do that. Yes. We don't have one exactly planned, but we'll wing a George Gershwin tune, okay? Now, hold on for me. I need to set us back up. By the way, as we sing you off, I just want to thank you all for being here.
Oh, yeah.
It's just such a delight. I wish I could see all of your faces so I know who was here, but thank you for coming. We so appreciate it. And thank you for coming into our home. All right,
Many thanks to you from all of us. It was a wonderful,
Yes,
wonderful
thank you so much.
clinic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see, audio.
Can you hear us okay now? Are we doing well?
A little bit more, Sonny, from you.
A little more.
A little more volume from you. Is that possible?
I don't
Oh,
know.
that's
It may-
better. That was
Okay.
better just
All
now.
right.
And Sonny, the chat is being populated by thanks from everyone to the two of you.
Oh, beautiful. Will I be able to see that?
Yes, I'm sure you will.
Okay. All right. B flat? B flat? They're writing songs of love, but not for me. Our lucky stars above, but not for me. With love to lead the way, I found more clouds of gray than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Hi ho, alas, and also lack a day. Although I can't dismiss the memory of his kiss, I guess he's not for me. I guess that boy, he is not for me. That sweet little boy is not for me. With love to lead the way, I found more clouds of gray than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Hi ho, alas, and also like a day. Although I can't dismiss the memory of his kiss, I guess that boy is not for me. I said they're writing songs of love, but not for me. I like his eyes above, but not for me. With love to lead the way, I have found more clouds of gray than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Oh, alas, and also like a day, although I can't dismiss the memory of his kiss. I guess, I guess. I guess he's not for me. I guess that boy is not for me. He's not for me.
Wowza. Oh my goodness gracious, that was a duo for the ages, you two. It's funny, it's so free, and Ron, it's brilliant, brilliant collaboration there, the two of you. I can't think of a better way to go out. So thank you both so very much.
Thank you, guys.
There's
That
so much.
was that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for coming to the clinic, and come